Welcome, friends, to Crazy Women Country, where women's voices matter. We bring you the greatest female voices in the music industry, from the artists, songwriters, and producers, to managers and executives, and all the women who make the music industry what it is today. Thank you for joining us. Hello, friends, and welcome to another episode of Crazy Women Country. I'm Donna, and today I am here with Sara Milonovich. How are you?
I'm great, Donna. Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure. And no more confusing last names, please. No.
You got it. It's yeah.
It's all good. It's all good.
It's all good.
How they translate in, throughout English, European, everywhere, and everyone pronounces it differently. I think it just depends on where you're from, and it really is.
Yeah, I'm good with it. I'll answer to a lot of different things. So, hey, you there? Hey, fiddle player, your beer's ready. Also,
your beer's ready. That's a good one. I like that.
Yeah. Well, tequila will get me there faster to the bar, but it all works. It's all good.
Perfect. So we'll start with the hardest question ever. Who is Sara?
Well, I like to think I'm flattered to be considered crazy enough to be on this program. I'm a farm girl from upstate New York, and I've been a fiddle player since I was 4 years old and a singer-songwriter since I had some things more interesting to say, which probably would have been in my mid to late 20s, because I've been writing songs since a teenager, but they were more like journal entries than songs, and have been consigned to the literal and figurative trash bins of history. But I grew up listening to a whole bunch of different genres of music, but definitely alt country was a huge part of that. I also played a lot of bluegrass music as a kid growing up, so that's definitely a part of my musical vocabulary. And I've bounced around the folk scenes, singer-songwriter scenes, played in Irish bar bands for a number of years. I occasionally sub the violin chair on the Broadway show Come From Away, which has been really interesting the last wee while, especially. And what I am predominantly doing these days is writing my own songs and fronting my own band, which is called Sara Milonovich and Daisycutter. And it's kind of an alt country band with a penchant for story songs with a good bit of snow in them, because that's where I'm from. And we just put out our latest album called Northeast, which came out at the end of June 2021. So that's me. I'm also a chicken nerd and a wine nerd as well. So those are my other hobbies.
Wonderful. So I apologize. My puppy is barking in the background saying hello to everyone. So she always steals the show. I apologize if you heard that. But okay, so we need to talk about this chicken. What is up with the chicken enthusiast here?
It comes along with the farm girl thing, but I've been raising chickens first as a 4-H'er when I was probably 9, and had been breeding them and showing them, and this was before the whole backyard chicken keeping thing became super trendy. It's very, very trendy right now. But I still have a bunch of girls. They live up at my parents' farm in upstate New York, because I live down in the Hudson Valley, about 65 miles north of Manhattan. And where I'm at right now, I don't quite have the space for chickens, but I've still got my flock of girls up on the family farm, and I have kept chickens for a very long time, and they're an infinite source of entertainment and fascination.
I can agree with the entertainment part for sure. We had some when I was a kid growing up. My grandparents had a farm and stuff, and it was just so much fun just to watch them run around. And
yeah, they have so much personality. And I like to say that when I was a teenager, everything I learned about dating, I could just learn so much by just watching the roosters in my flock, and then watching how that translated to guys that I was going out with.
That's a great translation. I never thought of that.
yeah, it was an educational experience. So I definitely have my chickens to thank for that too.
Wonderful. So why the fiddle at age 4? Was that like the instrument that you remember seeing and you're like, I got to play that? I mean, what was the fascination?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think it was at an age when you're too young to really know why you get into something. But I just knew I was very into it. My folks had music on around the house all the time, the radio and records and cassettes later on. And my mom's parents were involved in putting on local bluegrass jams and concerts and festivals and stuff like that. Although they weren't really players themselves, I was just around the music a lot. And I was so taken with the fiddle, I guess. I mean, I don't know what was going through my 3-year-old brain, but apparently I made enough of a nuisance of myself that my grandparents gave me one when I had just turned 4. And I started taking classical violin lessons and then hanging out with a bunch of fiddlers concurrently. So I was raised musically, fiddleistically, I was raised bilingual in that I can play classical music as well as different fiddle styles, which has come in really, really handy in my career. But again, at the time, that wasn't the trendiest thing to do as well. The guys like Mark O'Connor hadn't come out with their fiddle suites where people were crossing over, and it was definitely kind of looked askance upon by both sides. But I'm really glad that I did it. It's such a cool vocabulary to be able to do both. But I have no idea why, other than it just seemed like a cool thing that I had to do when I was 3. And it still is a cool thing that I have to do. And, I added other instruments like guitar, which I do a lot of my writing on and stuff, kind of added those later as a teenager. But fiddle has always been my primary instrument.
I think that's great that you learned classical and not so the classical. I think it's just great to be well versed. I mean, I might be the oddball that thinks that too, because I don't play an instrument. So, but I think it just brings out so much more depth in your abilities. I mean, as a listener, I can hear it. I can see, I can see differences in it's amazing to me. That's all.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think there's whichever path you end up taking, or if you end up taking one or the other, and there's no reason anymore to have to choose. But I think the more you know and the more you understand about anything, it's not a drawback by any means. It only deepens one's musical vocabulary and understanding. So it's definitely an asset and a way of growth, and never a drawback. And it's very cool now. It's very cool to be merging styles and being a mutt in that way. So I think that's a very positive thing, is that just whatever music moves you, learn as much as you can about it. And, you don't have to pick sides anymore. Just make music.
Exactly. I think that was a great expression there. Not picking sides, just go with it. So tell us, now you listen to a big array of music, as you mentioned. Tell us some of the women that have inspired you.
Oh my God, you cannot start without gals like Emmylou and Dolly. And I swear one of my life goals, one of these days, is to get up there enough to be able to open for Emmylou. Just in terms of writing, and also in terms of just having a unique voice, not really copying anyone else's affectation, but just inhabiting the songs in a really individual way, made a huge influence on me. I mean, nobody can phrase like Emmylou, and nobody can phrase like Dolly. And it's just so evident that they're very comfortable in living in their own voices and their own lives and their own experiences. And then I'm going to throw Linda Ronstadt in there as well, because my God, that was the 3 of them together was absolutely stunning. But in terms of having 3 unique individual voices that they were so 100% comfortable with living in and writing from, and then getting on stage and singing and recording from, it was hugely influential to just have these strong women out there and to see them just completely owning their powers. That's a huge thing for me. And also, gals like before them, gals like Patsy Cline, gals like Tammy Wynette, the next generation. I think about what the song, not only the songs that were done, not only her technique, but just the material that she got to do. But gals like Reba McEntire and Tanya Tucker, they were really just individuals. There was no mistaking these artists for anyone else. You would immediately know who it was when the song came on, and the songs always had something to say. They would either write or choose songs that had such strong messaging, and then they would just live in and deliver those messages. And there was such strength and such, artistic integrity and power in those sort of things that it made a huge influence on me. And then in the late 90s, when the chicks came on the scene, to have gals out there who could not only sing and write songs and pick songs, but could also hold their own as instrumentalists with any of the guys out there. Because even in the older days, with these fantastic, strong women singers and songwriters, so often the band was a bunch of ringers, and they were amazing musicians, incredible musicians, but most of the time they were guys. And I mean, I knew that women could play, although for the most part, my own upbringing, I grew up playing with the boys because there weren't too many other girls to play music with. And I have for real been told, hey, you play as good as a boy. And yeah, damn straight. We work just as hard at it, and we can be just as good. And it was huge to me to see a group like the Chicks, where you had gals like Emily and like Marty, who not only had gone out and won national championships on their instruments, but then took that to an arena setting. And, I think in so much as you have to give Alison Krauss a ton of credit for putting the fiddle on the map in that way, and being an amazing vocalist and having an incredible, diverse, awe-inspiring career. In terms of taking the fiddle in a traditional manner and bringing it to an arena rock setting, I think Marty McGuire is one of the most underrated instrumentalists on the world stage right now. And they're absolute heroes of mine.
Great women that you mentioned. And I love how you mentioned, you're right, there's so few, it seems, in your area where you grow up, as far as women that play music. I've been honored to meet this last year, like Nikki O'Neill, who amazing guitarist, her, and Vanessa McGowan, and and percussionist, and it's amazing to finally get to meet and see more women that, as you said, playing with all guys. And yeah, you could see that. And it's so great to see these women now up in the forefront with the different magazines as well, because it's like, someone once said to me, if you can see them, you can be them. And I'm like, that's a great theory. I'm like, I never even thought of that, but you have a point, because as kids, we look up to, what do we see? Who do we see? And if we can see someone as a percussionist or a guitarist, as a bassist, as lead, I think it's just limitless for girls, and that kind of inspires them.
Absolutely. I mean, representation is huge. Just being able to see someone else doing it speaks volumes, especially when you're at an age when you're a kid or you're a teenager or you're in your early 20s, when you're trying to turn it from kind of a dream into an actual reality. It helps validate what you want to do, to see someone else doing it and doing it well and achieving success with it. And so representation is huge for that. And being able to see women like that, especially women like Emily and Marty up there, it's like, oh, hey, they're doing that. And I can play that. And maybe I can do that, and I hope that is getting, that part at least is getting better now. I know radio representation is a real sorry state, but hopefully with the expansion of so many other alternate media sources and publications and stuff, the ability to see women out there, and not just, as rhythm players, although that's certainly essential, but not just there to be part of a band or to be in the background, but to be out there as soloists and as strong instrumentalists, as well as strong vocalists. That sort of representation is huge to me. So I'm very excited that that seems to be on the upswing for sure.
Absolutely. So let's talk about your latest release. So what off of Northeast, what was your favorite song that you wrote on there? Was there one? I know they're all your little babies. I get that. But was there one that more in particular this week that you're like, oh, that one's even better this week than when I had originally thought it was? Or is there one that stands out for you?
Oh, that's a hard question. And you already took away the answer of, oh, well, they're all my babies and everything. That was really mean and clever of you to do that.
Anytime.
Yeah. Thanks. I think they all have their own thing to say. There are, if I can hedge and pick out two, I think the kind of dark horse of the album, which also ended up being one of the singles and ended up being one of the ones that really resonated with people and seemed to get more radio attention and a little more media attention, even than the songs that I thought were going to be more popular for sure, was the song $2 Town, which is, it's a true story. It's not all one person's true story. It's a composite story, and it's not all my story, but it is all true. Every bit of it that happened was true, and and may only be 1 degree of separation from that. So I struggled with that one a lot because it's a lot easier to write about things abstract in an abstract way, because you don't run the risk of people finding out that you're writing about things really close to home. And this album was really close to home. And that song is really close to home, probably within 2 or 3 mile radius of home. And so that was a really kind of hard song to write, because the danger of messing it up was really great. I didn't want to mess up the story of that. And even if it wasn't 100% my story, and it was still something that I wanted to make sure I got as truthfully and as honestly as I could. And so that took a long time. That one, I beat my head against that one for a really long time. And I had a similar deal with the title track, which was made even more difficult by the fact that I knew it was going to be the title track before we had even finished writing it or recording it. So lots of added pressure there. Way to go, Sara. Way to go. But yeah, Northeast, the title track is probably the most autobiographical song on the album in terms of a philosophy, not necessarily just myself, but in terms of a philosophy of a people, in a way. And so that was another one that you really don't want to mess up, especially not when you've already made up your mind that it's going to be the title track, because the album started with the cover art, which was inspired by driving by this abandoned factory and just seeing this loading dock and going, I think the next album should have something to do with this thematically. A lot of the albums that I grew up listening to, a lot of these old country songs and even newer stuff, and of course the folk troubadour tradition and everything, it's all about the story songs, and it's all about people and places. And there are an awful lot of them about the South and the West, but we have all those issues too, and also snow. So what if I wrote some things about that, and decided that was kind of going to be the springboard, the jumping off point for the album, which ended up working out. But in terms of putting a lot of creative pressure on yourself, was probably a ridiculously dumb thing to do, to start an album.
I like that. I don't think I've ever heard started with the cover of the album. That is amazing. But I will say, I'm glad you mentioned the $2 Town, because as from lyrics perspective, that caught me first off. The first line, got $1 million view. of a $2 town. I was like, what? That is so cool. Like, that's just that perspective of the way it was said. I'm like, that is so different. So that might be why that was so gravitated toward, because that's just that first line hooks you in. So.
Well, thank you. I mean, that part is true. I grew up on a ridge, grew up on a hill. We got great views. We used to joke that the town that I grew up in, or grew up just outside of, people used to say, oh yeah, it's a real Monet. Looks good from a distance. So.
Oh. So are you ready for some fun 20 questions?
Oh boy.
Nothing too serious. And
okay.
I'm pretty sure there's no wrong answer. Well, there might be for one, but we'll get to that. We'll cross that bridge when we get there.
All right. I'm only mildly terrified. Let's do this.
Okay. What was the last thing you read?
The last thing I read was Brandi Carlile's memoir, Broken Horses. It was amazing.
Oh, good. Oh, hypothetically, I need to hide a dead body. Do you have a good hiding spot?
Yeah, but if I told you, I'd have to kill you.
Okay, don't do that. You're the second person that answered that way.
Really? Blah, blah, statute of limitations, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. It's all good. What's the best concert you've ever been to?
Ooh, there might be tied for two. One was the Chicks at Madison Square Garden. When Not Ready to Make Nice had just come out, when that album had just come out, and they were touring in support of that. That was an amazing concert. And the other one was when I drove my mother to Boston to see George Strait's The Cowboy Rides Away tour. And the band on before George was Tim McGraw and Faith Hill and their band, which was amazing. And then George and the Ace and the Hole band got out on stage and completely obliterated the opening acts. And the opening act was Tim McGraw and Faith Hill. It was absolutely epic. And it was really mind-blowing to see what a band that has played together for 50 years sounds like. There was just no prisoners, and completely amazing. And Tim and Faith were amazing too. But we got to see King George on his farewell tour. And so that was really cool. So I'd say it was those two concerts, that one and the Chicks at the Garden, which was epic.
Wonderful. Those sound like awesome concerts. What's the first thing you would do if you won the lottery?
Ooh, first thing I do if I won the lottery, apart from the boring stuff like, paying down debt and making sure your family is taken care of, that stuff. I would get myself a cabin in the middle of nowhere on a lake in the Adirondacks.
Oh, nice. I like that.
That was easy.
Can I come visit?
Yeah.
Okay. I like to make food over campfire, so yeah, let's do it.
Oh yeah, my campfire and wine pairings are epic.
I'm looking forward to it now. I'm even hungry already. So, Do you speak in song lyrics?
Do I speak in song lyrics? No, but I like to take things that I've already spoken or that I've heard other people speak and reverse engineer them into songs. I do get a lot of lyrics that way. But I'm not aware of it at the time. But that's not just song related. Most of the time I'm not totally aware of what may or may not be coming out.
Interesting, huh? So what job would you be terrible at?
Anything that involves dancing. So I would make a terrible rockette. And anything that involves high levels of foot coordination. My fine motor skills are apparently limited to my fingers. That's it. But I'm a terrible dancer. I was actually, when I used to play for square dances and contra dances, when I was a teenager, I thought one day I would try dancing, and I was actually asked to leave the dance because I was that bad. So I would make an awful rockette. Anything involving gymnastics, ballet, that would be just an absolute abomination. And I'd probably be really crap at waiting tables as well, because that would involve carrying multiple trays of food and not losing your balance. And I can just imagine that ending so badly.
Okay, so we'll keep you away from those positions for the rest of your life, for sure.
Yeah, I don't think Radio City is going to be calling me anytime soon.
So I won't come up for Christmas to see you with Rockettes. But what is your game plan for zombie apocalypse?
Game plan for zombie apocalypse involves first winning the lotto, buying the aforementioned cabin in the Adirondacks, with a well-stocked bar, a deep freezer, and my chickens. After that, we should be pretty good.
Good game plan. What album or albums and artists should I listen to before I die?
Ooh. You've probably listened to them already, I'm guessing. Albums or artists. This is like a desert island kind of thing, right?
Yeah, kind of. It's kind of like recommendations. So the thing is that we get the audience, hopefully, to start listening to some of these other ones that they may have not heard.
Okay. Artists, albums, recommendations. Okay, that's awesome. I would say anybody, well, to go back a few years, anybody who hasn't checked out any of Patty Lovelace's bluegrass albums should absolutely go back and do that. So check out Mountain Soul and Mountain Soul 2, because those are awesome. Of course, she was amazing when she was doing the Nashville country thing, but the High Lonesome really comes out, and backed by an all-star band of who's who in the bluegrass world. They are some solid listening. In terms of women in the East Coast scene, my buddy Abby Gardner, who is a dobro player based in New Jersey, has a new album. It's not out yet, but she has a new album of solo dobro coming out. It's just herself singing and accompanying herself on the dobro. So if any of you or your listeners are familiar with the band Red Molly, Abby was one of the founders of that, and she's an amazing singer and songwriter, but also an awesome dobro player and slide player. And it's really cool to see her doing a project like this. So I'm really excited for when that's going to come out, and I'm definitely looking forward to that. To checking that
I'd like
out.
to catch that.
Yeah, I think it's coming out in the next month or so. I'll have to go back and check her release schedule, but that's definitely something I'm super excited about.
So after everyone follows all of your socials, they're going to go follow all of her socials. That way they can
totally
be up to date with everyone's music.
They totally should. In terms of Hudson Valley songwriters that are totally underrated or very much under the radar, I've got to give a shout out to my buddy Jeff Wilkinson, who is actually a career architect in the Hudson Valley, but writes songs. He really has mastered that kind of story song kind of vibe. And in fact, one of the songs on my album Northeast, the song Strange Dominions, is kind of a sort of a co-write with Jeff, where there are actually two versions of that song. There's his version, and then there's the version that I took the framework of and then completely reworked and rewrote and everything. And so then there's my version, which is on my album. But I am also in Jeff's band when he does go out and tour. And the album, which also has his version of Strange Dominions on it, is called Hill No Passing. And so that's Jeff Wilkinson and the Shutter Dogs. And I think if you're into really good lyrics and story songwriting with a kind of alt country, like James McMurtry meets Tom Petty kind of thing, you'll dig that.
Wonderful. Definitely have to check that out too. So
yeah.
Who would play you in the movie of your life?
Kate Winslet, because I think I've always, well, I used to flatter myself with that because she's so drop dead gorgeous. I'm like, oh yeah, Kate Winslet should totally play me. And then I started watching that kind of drama series that she was in, Mayor of Easttown, on an airplane this past fall, which is really the only time that I get to watch much of anything. But I can't wait until we can travel more and go back on tour, because airplanes are where I get all my watching done. And it was the only time I've ever been sad to have a plane land, because I got so hooked into these episodes, and she's such a great, just real life person inhabiting character. She's a marvelous actor in that. So, and since I've gotten hooked on that, Kate Winslet.
Perfect. I can see that now. So this is a very prolific question. Where's Waldo?
What's the time frame?
Today.
Oh. In bed, under the covers, hiding out with that striped shirt with some striped flannel sheets, because it's 26 degrees and blustery here in New York. And that's what all smart money is on. You just get a bunch of flannel sheets. They come in that nice striped pattern, get right back into bed, hibernate until it's over.
Perfect. I will try to send you some of the warmer Florida weather. We were cooler today. It was like 70 something instead of 80 something, which was awesome. So, but I could send you some warmer weather if you'd like it.
That'd be great. Thanks. I feel terrible for you. It was 80s. Oh, you must have been so hot. 26 was our high today with 20-mile-an-hour winds.
I don't miss living in the Northeast. I don't. I like visiting the Northwest in the summertime. So it's like, the 70s, 60s out there. So that I like. Although last summer was so hot, I was like, yeah, maybe we should go out there.
Yeah, I keep reminding myself, like, every winter, and this is my mantra when I really need to kind of up my game with that, but it's just, don't move, nope. Earthquakes and forest fires. Because I'd be like, I'm moving to California. Earthquakes and forest fires. At least the snow, it's coming.
Well, you can always come to Florida for the winter and just do a bunch of shows down here. It's just a
that
thought.
Sounds like I like that idea very much, as long as I'm back by hurricane season. But you
just have to be out by June and you're good.
It's a plan. Great. I'm on my way. Good plan.
Okay, we'll schedule you up.
Sounds great.
Would you rather cook or order in?
It depends on where you could order in from. Where the situation is now, I generally cook. I'm a good cook. It's easier. It's healthier. It's cheaper. There are a lot of things going for it. If I lived in a city like Manhattan, where you could order in amazing world cuisine at any hour of the day, any day of the week, that would be a different story. I'm sure I would have, if the temptation were there, if I could order in sushi and have really good sushi delivered to my doorstep, or really good pizza, or really good, that would be a game changer. But since I'm not, cook.
I love it. What TV show would you be a member of?
Or
movie.
TV show or movie. I could say something, funny, like, I don't know, Seinfeld or something, but, it'd probably be something like Justified instead. If that were like more of a comedy than it was pretty damn funny for a very dark series, but yeah, that would be it. Maybe Northern Exposure. I don't know.
That's a good one. I haven't heard that in a while. Yeah. I'm feeling the whole cold weather coming.
Oh, it's here.
Cold.
Winter is here.
So I guess then the next statement probably might, I have a guess what the answer would be: boots or heels. I'm going with boots.
To be fair, that applies in the summer as well. That's applied my whole life. It wouldn't matter if you plop me down in the middle of Death Valley, it'd still be boots. I've been an outdoor person my entire life. I used to just, they'd drag me in and I'd be covered with leaves and sticks and rocks and mud and the whole thing. And there was just no place for heels in that. And I've never been able to walk in them, much less run in them or do anything remotely fun like that in them. So again, and see my previous response. Yes. See my response to the Rockettes question, boots. So I don't fall over as much.
Great answer.
Also, boots are sexy as hell. I love a good boot. You can get boots with some heels, but just a good cowboy boot there's so many awesome boots out there that, why would you even miss heels? So much the boot world has to offer.
Absolutely.
And Boot Barn has my number. I get like 2 emails from them a day. They're like, hey, we haven't seen you browsing like in the last 15 minutes.
Oh, they have you on speed dial. Oh, what's the best thing since sliced bread?
Cheese.
Any specific type or just in general?
Well, I don't like to limit my cheese choices, although, you'll pry my Vermont cheddar from my cold dead hands. But I like to, I do multiple cheese options. I've recently gotten into this really good like soft cheese with truffles from France. I know that sounds really bougie, and it is, but try it. But in terms of just basic cheddar, Cabot, seriously sharp. It is a staple. It's really hard to go wrong with that. But yeah.
Do you have any guilty pleasure music? If so, what is it?
Yes. Well, I don't think it's guilty pleasure music because it's pleasure music, I think. But when I work out, I love to work out to Pink. And she's freaking amazingly talented. Talk about aspirational pipes. But it's just, I guess that's the pleasure bit, is that it's really good and it's really uplifting, and it's, always, there's always very strong feminist themes to it and everything. But there's also just kind of an element of fun, and that kind of party fun element, I guess, is what makes it more of a guilty pleasure, because so much of my own art is very serious and like life is hard and we're all suffering and cold and broke and we have to work hard at things. And, then Pink's like, let's go out and party and we'll all get drunk and then we'll go home. And, so that would be definitely one of those sort of things. And it's great workout music too.
It is, absolutely. I usually throw in anything pop. So what is the worst pizza topping?
Pineapple. Fruit doesn't go on pizza. It's the whole tomato. Tomatoes belong on pizza, and I know that they're botanically a fruit, but culinarily they're a vegetable. But that's it. That's the line. There's no actual fruit on pizza.
So okay.
I'm going to get hate mail after this.
No, you're not. Okay, trust me, there's been like anchovies, everything said. Yeah, there's.
Yeah, anchovies are tolerable if you do them right. It's all about proportion and stuff. But pineapple, I can get how the whole sweet, savory thing might seem like a good idea, but in execution, 9 times out of 10, it's just not quite there.
It would have to be like first a layer of like, ham, Canadian bacon, something salty like that. That for me to do the pineapple, it would be like cheese, then this whole layer of meat, and then a little pineapple on it. That maybe.
Yeah. I mean, again, it's in
You're
the
like, I'll try it, but
execution.
I don't think so.
I've done it and I've eaten it. I certainly haven't starved. It's not like, oh no, I would rather starve than eat this pizza. Um, but yeah, it's one of those things that's kind of, you're setting yourself up for disappointment in much the way that why iceberg lettuce exists in certain form. It's just, in theory, it's probably pretty good. In execution, 90% of the time, you're just going to end up sad.
I would agree. Oh, if you could be any person or any position, like accountant or something like that, who would you be and why?
Any person or any like position, job,
Yep.
title kind of person. I think is this in a non-musical way, or are there other?
It
Could
could
it
be
be
anyone.
just
It could
anything?
be like, for instance, I would want to be Dolly Parton for the day, just to, like I hear sometimes she gets up at 3 a.m. and stays up to do stuff, and I'm like, 3 a.m. is too much for me, but like 4 or 5, we can negotiate that.
Yeah.
But yeah, just.
Yeah, that would. I mean, yeah, Dolly's a great pick. I don't think you're going to be able to do much better than Dolly Parton, really. But I think it would be also very cool. To be somebody working on a really high level astrophysics project and to just be on the cusp of a breakthrough, and to kind of just that moment of enlightenment when you get the results back from whatever experiment you've been running, and it all starts to come together and you realize that your theory is there's something to it and it's coming together, and you're writing a paper and you know that it's gonna go. That's kind of like when you get into a song enough to know that there's going to be something there and it's not just going to be a load of crap. It's, when your data comes back and it starts lining up, that kind of thrill of discovery, the thrill of satisfaction, that sort of thing. So that would be a good one, but only because you've already got Dolly Parton taken.
Oh, well, thanks. Thanks for letting me have Dolly. That's so kind of you. Oh, if we had a song, what would it be?
If we had a song, okay.
Yes. I know this is a tough one.
That is a tough one. I want to say Goodbye Earl, but that's only because you asked me if I had a good place to bury a body earlier.
It could be that. That's great.
Let's see. What else? I'll stick with the Chicks and go, Some Days You Gotta Dance. Because this has been fun. And also, we've talked about my dancing. So,
yes. Perfect. We have 2 songs. I love it. Oh, at what age did you become an adult?
Oh God, probably way too young. I don't know, actually, because do we ever really grow up? Is it, especially if you're trying to be an artist? I don't know if we ever really grow up. I do remember at the age of like 9 or 10 when I started getting gigs as a fiddle player, playing parties and stuff around the vicinity and making some money at it. I do remember I told my parents, thanks, I don't need an allowance anymore. I have a job. Which, in retrospect,
like 9 or 10 going on 20.
Yeah. So yeah, that's probably, I mean, that's a funny story, but I like to think that we don't ever really grow up, but except I've just been an old lady for a long time, apparently.
It's the chickens. That throws people off, apparently.
Yeah, I just, I want to be on my front rocker with my chickens and, a guitar and my jug of tequila, yelling at the kids to get off my lawn and bring me a cheese sandwich.
And those are some great aspirations. Oh, just invite me because I want to check that out. If you could win an Olympic medal for any sport, real or fake, what would it be?
Real or fake? So let's see, if you have to invent a sport. Well, okay, real Olympic medal, I would pick equestrian events. I would pick 3-day eventing. And so I would love to win a medal in that, which would make me a much, much better rider than I actually am. So that would be cool. And then let's see. If you had to invent an Olympic category, it would be called, it's 3 p.m., your chickens are out, get them all into the coop in under 3 minutes. It's like herding cats, but there's more of them and they're really fast.
Yeah.
So that would be my Olympic sport that I would just invent.
That would be a good one to invent. As having chased chickens myself, yes, absolutely. The dogs are very much helpful sometimes.
Sometimes.
More chaos sometimes, but yeah.
Yeah. Bribery only gets you so far.
Right. Oh, so tell us, what does the rest of 2022 have in store for you? Are you doing some touring, maybe some new music? What's happening with your progression?
Yeah, both of those. We're trying to get back on the road. We were able to get out for a couple of rescheduled dates in this past fall, 2021, kind of hit the window in between, things opening and closing and opening and closing. It's kind of like a cat going in and out. No sooner do you get in, then you got to go out again. And more of that. We're going to try to get back on the road with some regularity. And it's time to start writing some songs again and start thinking about what comes after Northeast, what the next album might be like. And that's a painfully slow and excruciating process. I'm really, really jealous of songwriters that can sit down and just bang out a song. And like, I sat down this afternoon, I scheduled my songwriting time and I sat down and I wrote a song in the afternoon. I'm like, well, good for you. What's that like? My experience writing songs is more like those birds with the Windex commercials, or the crows just keep flying into the plate glass window. That's kind of my approach to writing songs. So I have to get an earlier start on it because it takes a while. So that is what I'm going to be doing for plans for 2022.
Wonderful. Well, we'll look forward to the new music. And make sure you all go follow Sara's socials. So that way you can always find out when the newest stuff is coming out, where she will be touring, and hopefully things will start opening back amid the chaos that has been COVID. And whether it's requiring vaccines or masks or whatever, heck, I don't care. I'll wear a mask if we can get out, and I've had my vaccine, so I'm good. Let's do it.
Yeah, I'm down. Let's do it. I mean, I don't care if I have to order a flight of vaccines. I'm like, I had 2 Pfizers and a shot of Moderna. Just line them up. Do a shot. Get a shot. Do a shot. I mean,
yeah, there we go.
No, I mean, it's
that would have been a great point to get everyone to get shots, right?
Well, it would have made that 15-minute waiting period a lot more interesting if they just had an open bar in the back of it. I mean, we did it in a National Guard tent, and I was like, well, this is 15 minutes of staring at a tent wall. But it's I'm glad we have those things. I think when we look back on this, I think the development is going to be kind of the microbiological equivalent of a moon landing in terms of how fast we were able to deal with that, and whatever it takes, vaccines, masks, look out for one another. And we're just really trying to keep the live and live music. So that's, whatever we need to do. We're so eager and we need it and want it so badly to get back on the road and just interact with people and bring new music and meet people and in the real world, in the real times.
It's just virtual.
Yeah. The Zoom thing is live streaming. If I had to write a country song about my live streaming experiences, it would be titled Tequila and Tears, because that's how they all ended up.
Well, then we're going to have you do a live stream.
As long as I don't have to do any dancing.
Tequila and tears. No dancing. We'll make other people dance and come in on the thing, and we'll just, we'll have them do dances.
I've got it down. I'm working up my nerve for a Facebook takeover. I will be sitting in a chair so my feet don't have to trip over anything.
Perfect. See, you're already set. All good. Thank you so much for joining me. It's been a pleasure having you on today.
Oh, thank you all. It's been wonderful.
Thanks everyone for joining us for another episode. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye. If you enjoyed today's episode of Crazy Women Country, don't forget to give us a thumbs up. Be sure to click the subscribe button for new interviews weekly. And thank you, friends, for joining us today on Crazy Women Country, where women's voices matter.